Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Schlage Primus. This is their part number 40-070. Schlage Primus Metal Pin Kit is what it is. 40-070. So let's slide it out of its sleeve here and let's take a look and see what it does indeed look like. Okay. I don't know who manufactures this. The kit, the physical kit itself makes me think that it's by Lab. Sorry, I had to think about that for a moment. And that's what the kit looks like. Now, there are photographs down below. Obviously, I can't tip that out too far. The top lid, or I should say the underside of the lid, tells you everything that's in the unit as if you are looking at it. Top left would be the top left. Okay. Bottom left would be the bottom left. Things of that nature. So, obviously, you're going to get your finger pins. There are 7. And we're going to talk about why there are 7 when we get to the Primus manual. There are the sidebar springs, the finger pin springs, the side bars themselves here. There's a plug follower here, and then they call this the plug holder. And when I've pinned Primus, I never had the plug holder. But it's a lot. It takes longer to pin with the plug holder, but you don't get that 4th of July caliber explosion of things happening in the air. This will allow you to keep everything retained when you're just pinning, just repinning the unit, and you're not changing sidebars or finger pins because you're dealing in a particular level. We'll just say level 1. The finger pins obviously have springs because they need to float up and down. The sidebar has springs because it needs to come in and out. And the manual that we'll take a look at, and this material is far too small to really see on the camera at all. Little finger pin. This happens to be a number 4. Has a recessed area for the spring to ride in. And basically when that tip rides in the side bit groove, or the side bit milling, the preparation in the finger pin itself will be aligned such that the sidebar can enter into it. So if the finger pin, because the little finger here is not at the proper height or the proper rotation, left, right, or center, that sidebar is not going to allow it, it will not be allowed to seat into the finger pin itself in that little area that you see there. It's on both sides. So what happens in this situation is the finger pin is not only moving back and forward, but it's going up and down as it rides through that side bit milling. As the key enters it, it's rotating this way, and it's going up and down all at the same time. And when it comes to rest in the proper position, either left, right, or center, and at the right height, the key's inserted. When you go to turn the key, the sidebar does not encounter any wards. Well, it's hard to do it. But the sidebar doesn't encounter any wards, so it can fit over the finger pin, allowing the sidebar, and you can see this little triangular prep right here, that's where the sidebar fits into it. It's hard to show you what that looks like, but it'll be like that. And when the sidebar can nest in over the finger pin, as you turn the key, the sidebar, because it's not encountering any wards, ward is a blockage. There's no blockage. The sidebar will scooch in ever so slightly, allowing the key to turn. That means that on the Primus, there are 2 shear lines for the product. So if you're going to pick it, and I've seen or heard of I've heard of videos on YouTube where people pick them very quickly. I've spoken to people on the phone who claim that they can pick them really quickly. Sure. Even Peter Field from Medico, who's one of 2 names on the patent for Medico 3, will tell you can get past any cylinder. It's just a matter of time. You know, do you have the right tools? Do you have the time? And from my perspective, do you have the skill to do it? I don't. So it's not, you know, cylinders aren't marketed as impenetrable. But when you add additional shear lines, like the Primus, and if you look up the patent for the Primus in about the mid-1980s or late 1980s, the person who patented that also patented the ASA, and they have similar side. It's a very similar concept. You'll see it if you were to look at both the ASA and the Primus patent. You'll see the similarity there, but they're novel enough that they're not the same. You add that second shear line, and you really go a long way to being able to prevent casual key picking or getting through the cylinder. It's certainly going to make it a lot less convenient, if not outright impossible, to get your hand, or practically impossible to get your hands on the key blanks. So multi-shear line cylinders are great in all instances whenever you can afford to put them in. Not really as much from a price or a cost perspective afford, but when you can get them worked into the project, it's a far more secure platform. Let's switch to the screen view and let's take a closer look at all the supporting information. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. Okay, here's our finger pin kit. So this is an XP finger pin kit, and I've read the Primus cylinder service manual several times. I've consulted it countless times, and I think what makes it XP is the inclusion of the 7th finger pin. The original Primus, I think, did not have a 7th depth, so to speak. Link to the product catalog is here, but let's take a look at some photographs that we have. Okay, here's the label, one of the 2, I should say. There's the box with the manufacturer's label on it. There's the metal case, powder-coated metal case. This does make me think it's Lab. Lab is a manufacturer of locksmithing supplies and tools, but they're known for their pins. So it's possible, I don't know that they're making finger pins for Schlage, but I would be surprised if they weren't. They make pins for many manufacturers. That's what the kit looks like. Your 7 finger pins, your holder, and again, it does slow you down to use it, but you don't have to worry about being careless and letting your thumb or your forefinger come off of the side of the plug itself, giving you a 4th of July experience with the sidebar, the springs, and the sidebar springs and the finger springs. Plug follower. Close-up of the kit, pins 1 through 7. Your other items. The lid shows you everything that's in it. Okay. XP finger pin kit includes the finger pins, sidebars, springs, and plug holder. Don't know how many are in there. Well, we'll be able to determine how many are in there. Let's click on product catalog. What does this tell us? Well, this is out of the price list, actually. So there's not going to be too much here to see, except that it's helpful to be able to see the pages out of the price list because it's extremely helpful to do so. So we do indeed have our 40-070 Primus pin kit sidebar. Okay, finger pins, finger pin springs, etc. You scroll through the rest and you'll see other locksmithing tools available from Schlage. That's all very handy. That's nice to have. The document, the Primus cylinder service manual I was referring to, I'll show you where to find that. The link below this video here to the manufacturer's page. And once that loads, at least currently, well, you can do a Control F on your keyboard for Primus, and you'll highlight all the areas that search term match. So we're going to look at the Primus Service Manual 2014. It's the most current one that I have. So this is the governing document, 48 pages. We are not going to, this video is not on Primus. I would have to study a bit to put a video together on Primus as an overview. Here's the 40070. I'm hoping for a bill of materials as to what's in it. I don't see one. Yeah, I don't see one. The reason I'm wanting to know one is because I'd like to know how many. There could be about 10 or 12 sidebars in here. I would say that there's probably... It's got to be 50 finger pins, I would say. Would be an educated guess. Don't hold me to it. I'm just eyeballing it. I'm not taking the time to count those. But you get what would come in it. So let's take a look at those sidebars. Pardon me, at the finger pins. We scroll into the Primus manual. And if you deal with Primus, you're going to want to review this. This is kind of what it's looking like. If you're right-handed, you're going to be used to holding a sidebar with your right hand if you're, right-handed. And that's the trick with Primus, because it's your index finger, really, that you're going to be using, I think, to hold that in place there. Okay. Let's take a look. And this is kind of what it's going to look like. So my intention of going through this is to scroll through to where we can pick up on the finger pin specific information. So, here is what an exploded version of a Primus cylinder is going to look like. Okay. And that's how the pins are going to ride vertically up and down over the side bit milling, but they're also going to rotate on a vertical axis of pivoting, so to speak, as it's kind of inferred to here. And when the groove in the side bit milling here is cut, you then need to mate to that specific depth of cut and angle of cut, so to speak. It's not angle. Medical uses angle. I'm saying whether it be left, center, or right. When you have the appropriate skew, how deep it is, and is it scooched this way? Is it in the center, or is it scooched this way, if you'll forgive the slang, the word scooch. When it is oriented properly, that's when the sidebar can then enter the white areas here, or the areas of the finger pin removed, so that it can be fully compressed within the cylinder, just as they're showing it here. Only when you have alignment of the preparation in the finger pin with the notch or the gate, this is a gate, it's called, the technical term is gate. When the gate is aligned with the finger pin, it will enter when you rotate the key. And I want to scroll through to show you the really important information about Primus in here. Here we go. So this is key bitting specifications, an important page. I've never taught myself to learn how to read the side bit milling, and it's just because I didn't invest the time to do it, because I don't work on Primus enough to draw on that skill. And I don't see side bit millings beyond level 1 often, and I certainly don't need to know how to read those, because I'm likely not supplying cylinder or keys or expanding the system at all. Okay, there's the idea. Notches aligned. This is where they're not aligned. Here. When you hold the tweezers in the pin and you look at the concave area from the top, they're left, center, or right. The cuts of the side bit milling are going to be either left, center, or right, or they're going to be shallow or deep, or in XP, they're going to be extra shallow. So I was right. My memory kicked in there. XP products have the extra shallow 7-pin. This table is very important to know. Now, you know, you're going to be able to figure it out. If you have a Primus cylinder on your workbench and you put in one finger pin and it turns when you've inserted the key, you can then work backwards and figure out, okay, what finger pin did I just load, and what does that cut on the side bit milling look like? And then you can make an educated guess as to what it would look like in the second through fifth. Now, here's what's interesting. Depending on the section, meaning the keyway, whether it be C or EF or FG, you get the point. It's going to tell you the side bitting, what finger pins you'll use. You can take that data and go back up to the chart. I think it was 62266 for CP. 62266 right here. So 62266. 62266. So you've got all deep cuts. Right, left, left, right, right. Okay. Okay. You've got some. Now, why would you need those other finger pins? You know, our kit has ones, fives that aren't even in any of these side bittings. Well, if you have a facility and you have a restricted keyway, you know, meaning the side bitting, you're going to need a pin kit to be able to service your own cylinders. They're not. This is all for level 1, is what I should have started out by saying. This is all level 1 Primus. Everything beyond level 1, you're never going to know the side bitting, meaning in terms of it won't be published. If you train yourself how to read it, well, you'll be able to read it because it's just different side bittings, side bit millings on the key blank. As you scroll through, this is where you'll really learn as much as Schlage publishes about XP. I have recently learned that, and I'll show it to you when we come to it. These pages are on procedural policies to follow. Now, this is, if you're familiar with the multiplex structure, the classic obverse here, you probably then know that the H, J, and K are multi-section blanks, and the L is an all-section blank. If you buy L-section blanks, it will pass all 7 of these keyways. That is not the case in Primus at all, because if you recall, our side bittings were different for some of these keyways. I could scroll back up to that table, but just recall there were 3 or 4 different side bit millings. Therefore, there is no all-section LP blank that will pass them all, because the side bitting of an EFP and a CP, I'm pretty sure those were different. Or a C and a CE, those may have been different, whatever it is. And the way that Schlage makes their multi-section work is obviously when you are creating a system from scratch. You can't build a system using stock level 1 components. Here's how I learned it. I've got a client who wanted to put Primus on his home. He was going to put C on part of the house and CE on a different part of the house, whether it be garage and then main home or whatever it was. But he wanted an L blank. And I found out through obviously researching it that you can't have an L blank. It may not be C and CE. Let's scroll back up. We were on page 24 there. He wanted 2 different key sections. Yeah, it was C and CE. C and CE, and I'm dropping the P. They have different side bittings. So what the client wanted to do was to have an all-section blank that would pass everywhere. You can't, because level 1 side bit milling is different between a C and a CE, properly called CP and CEP, because it's Primus. And then investigating with the factory, a very patient, extremely helpful person in tech support there, allowed me to then realize, that's how that works. Now, if you want to set up a multiplex structure, it can be done. But the side bittings are always going to, the side bit millings will always be the same. So you'll have keyways, broachings in plugs that will have the same side bit milling, because if you want a multi or all section blank, you obviously can't double cut. At least I've never heard of anyone double cutting a side bit milling. Double cutting is done in medico, where they're cutting left and right angles. Fore and aft is the proper term in medico, to get two different pins to work, well, so to speak. A key that can work in two different keyways that have a fore in one chamber and an aft in the same chamber. Anyway, that's why I wanted to point that out. The rest of the manual does get into other pieces and parts, so if you're looking to order some material, this is certainly going to be a place that you'll want to refer to. I don't believe much has changed in the world of Primus at all, except that their SL, the Everest, the XP, the world of Schlage high security and all high security cylinders is an extremely deep well to jump into. You know, the thing with high security key work or key systems from different manufacturers, they're all the same principle. There's a ward, there's a blockage in the cylinder somehow, and the key is what allows you to bypass that. But they go about it in very novel ways. And any sort of research that you do just for your own edification on different manufacturers' high security cylinder systems is extremely good research to do. If you're in the industry, your knowledge will only benefit you moving forward. Anyway, this catalog is, this manual, this cylinder manual, is the governing document. Now, elsewhere on the manufacturer's page that we have here, we're going to be able to find all of the Schlage items that we sell by means of this horizontal navigation. A link to the manufacturer's website is seen here, as well as a link to their current full-line catalog. Speaking of full-line catalogs, I have a really cool one here. You want to see what Schlage was doing in 1936? There's the catalog. That's my holy grail of antique lock catalog collection, the 1936 Schlage. A great document in the sense of the history of American lockmaking. And I have many, many others, many that go to the 19th century as well. Not from Schlage. Schlage wasn't a twinkle in their daddy's eye when Yale and Sargent and Corbin got started. But nonetheless, this document, which we'll load at some point in the future for us, hopefully, will allow you to take a look at all things Schlage. So I won't, it's a very heavy document in terms of its size, so I'll allow you to research that should you like to. I've got a 52, a 59, a 61. I've got some other old catalogs here. But the majority of all other links here are encyclopedic in nature, as you could imagine, like our Primus service manual that was here. Let's wrap up this video on camera. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. So to wrap up this video, you know, we've got our kit here, and if we were to look at a 1, and, you know, I don't really have the ability to get in close on this material, but, you know, this is a 1. I can tell when I hold it as if I've got the tweezers and I hold the two areas that will seat into the gate. I can tell that this pin is skewed to the left, and I can tell that the number 2 is not the same skew as the bottom line. You can see it. And quite frankly, I wouldn't, like I said, I've not taught myself how to sight read side bit millings, but I've always said, yeah, I'd like to be able to sight read side bit millings, because I do see key blanks from people. Hey, I'm looking for this key blank, and at a minimum, I need to know, is it the level 1 side bit milling or is it not? So I can immediately tell the client, you know, listen, if you want to buy these key blanks, we're going to need paperwork. Anyway, the summary of what I'm trying to say when it comes to high security, dive in. Very, very interesting ways in which these extremely intelligent people that have invented these cylinder platforms, not only in Primus, if I've not already said it, I believe I have, it's from the 1980s is when it was patented. But you go back decades, and the history of locksmithing is such that all of it, and the way that locksmithing cylinder evolution, it's all led us to what is available today in high security. I can't, like the Schlage SL platform would be a good example of it. That's not bleeding edge or cutting edge in terms of, it's been on the market for a while. The most current that I'm aware of is the Medical 4. But sidebar principle is what's happening there. And it's a fascinating world to dive into is what I'm driving at. If you have any questions on the 40-070 Primus pin kit that's just finger pins only, or any other Schlage product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you. You know what's worse than losing your Z-axis on your CNC machine? It's not participating in the Architectural Builders Supply March giveaway. Thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.